Ah, hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. My name is Fiona, and oh, the subtitles are working. That's good. My name is Fiona. I use she, her pronouns, and this is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs, which is a little stream that I do as an accountability thing. But if you're new here, I run a podcast called What Am I Rolling? I'm also the co-host of the DM's Book Club, which are both tabletop RPG related podcasts, and I have, as a result, a lot of RPGs to get through, and so I thought, why not? This was back 6 months ago. I don't know. Long story. Hello. How are you? It's been a void. December has been a void, but it's very good to be back. And yes, I'm going to try and start to do these more regularly, going on from now on, as a way of accountability, but also gets me to do some cold reading. And why am I saying this word? Because today my special news is that oh, hello, Fueled by Chaos / Hazard Stripes. Oh, another rebrand everywhere. Yay! Oh, hey, JC Darcy, fancy seeing you here. Fancy. Well, thank you for everyone that's joining. I very much appreciate you lurkers, or lurking whilst I play some Lancer. Okay, wait. You're playing some Lancer. Shouldn't you be actually concentrating on role-playing, JC Darcy? Ooh. Well, I hope that you are both well. Or anyone else in the chat as well. I can see there's a couple more people lurking as well. Hope you've had a good Christmas, New Year, December, beginning of January. But yes, my special news is that I've started a on-demand voiceover class, which is great. However, turns out there's a lot of stuff. Who knew that on-demand classes would be a lot of stuff? I should know this as an e-learning technologist. So I was doing it today, and it was like, you need to do cold reading every single day to get better at stuff. And I was like, oh, I have the perfect outlet for that. So combine both of my loves into one thing: reading role-playing books and talking out loud to nobody, but also to everybody. So I hope you are well. We're in combat. I killed everything. Gotta wait for the GM to throw in reinforcements so I can pew some more. Oh yes, terminology there. Yes, tech. You know, make sure you got enough pew in the thing that goes bang. You know, technical stuff. Funnily enough, my other news is that I've just, for the first time ever, finished playing Resident Evil 4. Right, I've never played it fully. So, and obviously it's like, you should play this game, it's one of the best games of all time, and I would agree, except when the castle bit finishes. So you've got like village bit, castle bit, and then you have island bit. The bit in the island is so boring. It's like, oh, more people to fight. I'm in the cool bit. I'm in the big castle bit. I thought I finished the game. I'll be honest. 2/3 of the way through, I thought I'd finished, and turns out I hadn't. And I sold all my stuff because I was like, I'm ready for the big fight. I have finished it now, and I still think Resident Evil 2 is better. The remake was better. So anyway, I hope you are doing well. Pro Lancer play, watch out. Sam Size, hello Sam Size. Evening, lurking whilst playing some Baldur's Gate. Sam Size, Baldur's Gate, everyone's lurking today. Also Baldur's Gate, good shout there. My partner and I were playing it when he was over, first time playing it in the same room, and let me tell you, it is fascinating, because now he can't hide all those private conversations with me. I get to find out what he's up to with Lae'zel. It's very exciting. But thanks for joining, I very much appreciate it. So, enough chat at the beginning. What are we looking at today? So, the reason I picked this game to sort of chat about, sort of read through the core book, because it turns out there's no quick start. I thought there would be a quick start on it. Turns out there isn't. We're going to look at something called Never Going Home by Wet Ink Games. It came out fairly recently, within the last sort of 5 years, and to be honest, it's something that's flown under my radar a little bit. I know nothing. I don't know much about this game other than it was kickstarted, and there's a load of source books out for it now. But essentially, it is World War themed, so lots of trench warfare. And guns and violence and all that sort of thing, but also with some eldritch horror in there as well. So, obviously, first things first at the top of the stream. Obviously, not sponsored by Well Inked Games, or, this is my own copy that I've bought. Obviously, feel free to, I think I put it up earlier, but just in case you've just arrived, here is where you can find out more about it. It's also on DriveThruRPG, but also there, I'm just going to do a massive content warning just in case, because obviously right now in the world, there's a lot of awful stuff happening, and I'm very aware that not everyone wants to talk about war, or not wants to play games about warfare, etc., and certainly tell stories about trench warfare and all that sort of thing. But, you know, there is a space for these sort of stories, so that's why I wanted to explore it as well. Something that, you know, maybe one day I'd like to run a game of this for Where. I just wanted to see what the system is like, because that's primarily what I'm doing. But, as always, if you're like, this is not for me, Alberto, thanks so much for being with me, and just take a step out when you need to. And, yeah, just thanks for your time, essentially. Now, with all that out of the way, let's go look at the actual website, shall we? So I'm going to turn over from Big Fiona Face to teeny tiny Fiona Face. So let's look at Wet Ink Games. Although I will say the URL says We Tink Games. That's how I read it. God, it's not a great website, and I know websites are hard, but I will dehance. I appreciate I'm not. Oh, wrong one. Good job, Fiona. Great start to the year. As you can tell. There we go. I'll move it across a bit. So that is their logo. You've probably seen them. They are publishers for other games. The most recent one, I think, it's not on their website, which is a bit frustrating. But they've done Yanshi, Blood on. It will say it here, won't it? There's all the good. Damn it. Very professional. I'm just trying to see if they had it there. There you go. Yanshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall, which is a fantastic game. Banana-chan and Senfun Ling. Which also got kickstarted, did really well. I have my own physical copy I want to try out there. They also have other games like Wild Skies, Tenebra, Remnant of Rome, and then there was a recent one that they just released. I say released, I don't know how long ago. Heckin' Good Doggos, which instantly I'm like, that sounds great. But the main game we're looking at today is Never Going Home. So I kind of scrolled past it a little bit there. But as you can see, so the main book, I'll move over the screen this a bit. Main book is this one, Never Going Home, which sort of came out 2020, I believe. Released 1 and any in 2020. We'll go into the detail there. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional books. And I assume it's stuff to do with like maybe magic, but also maybe depicting certain stories on different historical settings, different war fronts perhaps. That's why I seem to get that, and also different kinds of beasts. Certainly you can see on here. Sorry, I'll go through the others there. So you can see there, Book of Whispers, Tome of Corrupted Beasts, Never Going Home, or Once More Into the Breach. That is an adventure book I saw. Bones in the Dust, Tears in the Sea, so a more naval one perhaps. German crew of the U-19 as they track down secret project Riptide, so actual campaign there. And then Blood on the Snow, which is a Russian army one. So there you go. So again, very different. Again, something obviously I don't really have any experience of, obviously, but also not someone who has played any of these games and done games about warfare and actually being in the trenches and actually being soldiers on the front line. So that's what very good. And yeah, at the top there, in tiny writing, but I will enhance in a little bit. It says enhance. Whoa, that's too much. Nominated for 2020 Emmy for Best Art by Charles Ferguson Avery. Come join the battle against eldritch horrors in the trenches of the Great War. You can get these PDFs of all these games on DriveThruRPG. That's where they mostly do their delivery. And hello, Kev Reed. Or Kev Red, depending on how you read that. A bit like Weird War 1, I believe. Yeah, I think that's a better title for it than what I was thinking, which was just Cthulhu in France was what I was thinking. But yes, we'll read out the little bio there. But thanks for joining with us, Kev. Appreciate you being here. So if I enhance. So what have we got here? So this is on the bio for the DriveThruRPG. So, the world is already at war. Now the veil has been torn. The Whispers promised you power. You may live long enough to lose your humanity. Complete role-playing game rules. 9 national profiles, 6 magic paths, 12 monsters, 3 adventures. Moving it over a little bit. And one day I'll have this sorted, but it's not today. Never Going Home is a party-focused role-playing game set in the horror-haunted trenches during the First World War. Never Going Home uses the +1 system to focus player and growth on what an individual character can do as part of a larger story that follows a group of soldiers called a unit. Individual characters may depart regularly as they die from injuries or collapse into madness due to forces beyond the veil. Characters are quick to create, so players should expect to rejoin the story portraying a new member of the unit. So this was something I actually looked up a little bit about this game from other reviews. There's only a couple of playthroughs I could find on YouTube. I'm sure there's loads of them, by the way, but you know what algorithms are like. But they say you can make a character within 90 seconds, and that you should pick somebody else. If you name another member of the unit you're a part of, they've been with you the whole time, which I quite like that as a sort of like, rather than like, oh, you turn a corner and then they appear, they've always been with your unit, which I thought was quite cool. Each character have their own heroic moments, but the story of the unit is the focus. Oh, cool. So it's a bit like, well, what that reminds me of is Rapscallion, when we looked at that quick start. And it's all about, like, whilst individual players, they had their roles, you know, like the captain, the first mate, etc. The story is actually about the ship they're on, and then upgrading the ship, etc. So, if essence, it's always about the story of the unit rather than the individual people, which it's quite a cool storytelling device, to be honest with you. It also kind of like, yeah, it's that idea that, you know, individual people get lost and maybe forgotten about in the history of it. I think it's really cool. As a storytelling device, not as a cool thing. Sorry. Careful, Fiona. Horror Haunted. The veil between worlds has been opened by the slaughter from war, and the monstrous whispers of beings wholly alien to humanity can now be heard. Some people have listened to the whispers enough to gain arcane powers and struggle to maintain control as their minds and bodies begin to change. Others are too far gone, mutated into barely recognizable versions of their former selves. War consumes the days and monsters stalk the nights. Not even dreams are safe. Players manage their characters' mental and emotional resources with a dwindling hand of cards. So yes, I did look at this as well. So one of the reviews talked about having like physical playing cards and using that as a resource to like to win missions and stuff. I know we're going to go all into this anyway, but what I found was fascinating is that you could, you know, depending on what you put in, as a group for the unit, depends on, it makes, sort of indicates what the result is, and everyone does it secretly. So it reminds me of, like, if you've ever played Game of Thrones, and you're like bidding on the tracks, etc., or you're like trying to fend off the wildlings, etc. Appreciate it's a very specific thing that comes to my head, just because I've been beaten by those wildlings so often in these games because people don't put in enough resources. It really makes me cross. But I really like that. One thing they did say in that review was that it means that everyone needs it's more of a game for in-person play, because everyone has a set of cards, or it could be something that the GM does, or you do it as a VTT, etc. So just something different. I hadn't really thought of that as a mechanic, using it to indicate like the progress of something. The First World War. The setting is the real Earth, and the characters are all human. A terrible new element has been added to the war, but the true horrors of the real war are a part of the story as well. The game is set in the years between when the veil was torn in 1916 and when the war really ended in 1918. The focus is on the frontline soldiers who are fighting and experiencing the worst of the magic and monsters. There is some mention of, but little exploration of, the home fronts. And any of the belligerent, of the home fronts of any of the belligerents and civilians only appear in passing. Okay, so it is literally in the heart of the action. It is in that sort of warfare game. You're not going back to the home and seeing those people. Interesting. And there's an actual play there from Wet Ink Games as well. And there you go. So that's all stuff. There's all stuff to talk. All stuff to get out. Currently, it is roughly about £8. On Drive4RPG, which is good. Marked down from the normals, just under £12. Mithril bestseller as well, I can see there. And you can also, that's the PDF as well. You can also get this as a soft cover book, which I know some of the reviews said it is. Well, we'll go into the design of it in a second. I want to check, when did it come out officially? Oh, added to the catalogue, 2019. So there you go. Alright, well, with all that out of the way, let me get rid of the Chrome. Look, and let's go straight on to Never Going Home, the PDF. Zooming out a little bit. So there you go. It is 122 pages. Now, will we go through all of them? Probably not. I know there's an adventure in there. Maybe there's going to be some sort of monster entries bit as well. We'll just see how far we can get within the next 2 hours. So they've got the credits at the beginning, so we have credits for the system, Brandon K. Aiton and Matthew Orr for the +1 system. We've got writing, we've got Irvin Jackson, Matthew Orr, Sarah Orr Aiton, and then Taylor White as additional writing as well. And then free writers for the adventures, we've got Corey Capps, Crystal Mazur, and Stephen Wu. And then Charles Ferguson Avery, who did the art, who got the Ennie for it, which was great. And then Carol Darnell as the editor, and layout by, I presume that's, well, maybe not Willem Knox Gunn. One thing I'll say straight away is that the design of this, I can tell, is supposed to be like a found book, like a found journal from a warfare sort of being maybe put together. I bet it's a bugger to print. I guess it's style, and I get that, but oof, I can imagine it being just a bit of a bugger for the printers to do that. Alright, let's head on in. Ooh, yeah. Death is what we see when awake. When we are asleep, it is dreams. Complete fragment. Table of contents. What have we got? We've got playing the game, we've got combat, weapons, vehicles, whispers, character creation, world at war, veil, no man's land, allied powers, central powers, running the game, antagonists, which are separated up into non-supernatural and supernatural threats, and then the adventures at the end. So the main core rules are under 90 pages. That's very good. And we can look at the character sheet just right at the end as well. Right. Okay. Straightforward so far. Oh my lord, it's tiny, tiny writing. Okay. Oh, these are the acknowledgements as well. That's cool. Oh yes. So this is some of the examples I saw. I'm just going to zoom out so people can see. So I'm just going to go through a little bit. So you can see it sort of flips in this book. It flips between game text and then written letter text. I'm not going to read out the letter texts, the letter like examples and stuff. That mostly because I think it's more artwork and it's supposed to give you a sense of stuff. It also could be an example of gameplay as well. And we don't tend to look at gameplay too much on that, or the examples of gameplay because we're just going through. But already I can tell that's just a bit of a. You need to break it up a little bit for online reading for sure. That artwork though. Alright, let's start from the top then. Never Going Home is a party-focused role-playing game set in the horror-haunted trenches during the First World War. If that sounds good to you, skip this page and get ready to deploy. If you aren't sure, read on to see if Never Going Home is for you. Okay, I'm just going to talk about what role-playing games are. Fine. Party-focused. Let's see what this means. It uses the +1 system to focus, play, and growth on what an individual can do as part of a larger story that follows a group of soldiers called a unit. Individual characters may depart regularly as they die from injuries or collapse into madness due to forces from beyond the veil. Characters are quick to create, so players should expect to rejoin the story portraying a new member of the unit. Each character can have their own heroic moments, but the story of the unit is the focus. Horror haunted. The veil between worlds has been opened by the slaughter from the war, and the monstrous whispers of being wholly alien to humanity can now be heard. Some people have listened to the whispers enough to gain arcane powers, and now struggle to maintain control as their minds and bodies begin to change. Others are too far gone, mutated into barely recognisable versions of their former selves. War consumes the days, and monsters stalk the nights. Not even dreams are safe. Players manage their characters' mental and emotional resources with a dwindling hand of cards. And in the First World War stuff we had it with, basically I'm rereading the thing again. Thank you for reading. Hopefully now you know if this game is for you or not. We hope it is. Your first mission is waiting. And then in written text, this is your last chance to turn back A little bit of blood. There's a letter. And I believe Douglas Haig, I think there's many letters from this person as it goes through, or I think it's from different people. Just giving you like a sense of what this game is about or what kind of stories you can play. So, playing the game. Skill rolls. When a character wants to do something, they may ask to make a skill roll against a target number, or an NT. Some target numbers are set by missions. The narrator, so I'm guessing that's the game master, sets all other target numbers. Players roll d6 dice, called skill dice, equal to their training in a skill. Dice showing 5 or 6 are successes. The number of successes on the roll must meet or succeed the target number to accomplish the action. Oh, wait. Oh, I see. Yeah. On each roll, the player may use as many +1 manipulations equal to their current score of the governing attribute of the skill being rolled. Okay, so I'm guessing the target numbers could be like something between 2 and 5 in terms of successes you need. And then 5 or 6 are the successes. And then you may use +1 manipulations equal to their current score of the governing attribute. So you can add, I'm guessing, to that. Attributes do not decrease for use. Okay. I'm sure it's going to tell us more about that in the future. Failure simply means what the character was attempting doesn't happen. All skill rolls take the form of roll, insert skill name, target number, X, which means roll dice equal to the skill training, manipulate dice equal to the attribute rank, meet at least the required number of successes. Could have been written a little bit better. I think I get it. I'm sure it's going to... Well, I'm going to have to read one of those play examples now, aren't I? So, skill manipulations is the +1 system. The attributes are linked to specific skills which dictate which ones they can manipulate. The character's score, rank, in a skills governing attribute dictates how many times a skill roll can be manipulated. A roll can be manipulated in the following ways. There's 2 ways. So, hang on. You know what? Why don't I look at the character sheet quickly? Whoop. Blank page. Oh, there's an X card there. Excellent. Good to see that. I'm just going to quickly look. So, it looks like we have... I'm guessing these are the attributes. And then we've got the skills here on this side. So we've got brawn, smarts, guts. And then skill-wise, we've got athletics, melee, stealth, communications, knowledge, mechanics, investigation, range, transport. And whisper is... these are probably magic of some sort. Okay. Alright, so attributes, skills, I'm assuming. Right, sorry. As I was like, let's just double check. We've got... So... sorry. Let's see. A character's score rank in a skill's governing attribute indicates how many times a skill roll can be manipulated. Okay. Before you roll, temporarily gain an untrained skill, so dice can be bought separately. Add a die to the roll. And so you can add a die to the roll. For example, roll full dice on a skill with 3 training. After a roll, you can add a pip to a die, i.e. change a 4 to a 5, and re-roll any number of dice. Keep the result once per skill roll. So, an example here. Simpson has a 2 training in range and 3 ranks in guts. The hit and injured trench walker requires 4 successes. His player buys 2 extra dice with the 2 points of guts, so that's from that rank there, and rolls 5, 4, 3, and 1. He keeps the 5 and rolls the remaining 3 dice again. There you go, here. That's after the roll there. And gets a 6, a 6, 5, and 2. Only a total of 3 successes, and the shot misses. Okay. Whereas Roth has no training in communications, but has 4 smarts. So smarts must be the governing attribute. Trying to get useful information from a raiding soldier is a target number of 2. Her player buys the communication skill for the roll, and 2 dice, and then rolls 5 and a 4. She spends her last points of smarts to add a pip to the 4, giving her 2 successes which she needs. Wow. Okay. And then we have Duran is severely injured. He has an athletics of 2, but currently only 1 rank of brawn. Crossing the stream requires 3 successes. This player buys an extra dice with 1 point of brawn and rolls a 4 on 1. There's nothing else he can do, and the stream washes him away. Did it say... here you go. The attributes do not decrease for use. So you always will have, say, this person will always have 4 smarts. But that's what you could use on that turn to manipulate that check. Okay. Challenges. Throughout the game, there are touch points that represent significant barriers to the character. These are things that will happen if encountered. No bypassing or talking at their way out of them. The narrator may sometimes insert other challenges as needed. Challenges are too big to overcome alone and require the characters to work together. A challenge may require multiple skill rolls that will be accomplished by the group, 1 skill roll that every person must succeed at, or even 1 skill roll with such a high target number that multiple players must make the roll and combine their successes. It does sound like that's all the same thing, but it's not. It's like one is a unit doing... If you have a unit of 4 people doing different checks on different things. 4 different checks. One could be that everyone has to succeed at one particular one, or everyone just has a combined one. I see. Challenges take the form of challenge skill names and then target number, which means each character participating in the challenge makes the appropriate skill roll individually and pool total successes, meets at least the required number of successes. Unlike skill rolls, failure of a challenge can have a penalty associated with failure. Okay. Whoa, that artwork. Brutal, huh? Letter to Mary Walbeck from Alfred. I think Alfred's the one I seem to remember that comes up quite a bit. Cards. Let's look at this. So, cards. The Journey, Healing, and Character Growth. A standard deck of 52 playing cards with 2 jokers is used to represent the emotional resources and memories of the characters. For 6 or more players, 2 decks, each with 2 jokers, are shuffled together. The players may use any decks they have on hand. 4 traditional suits are called for in the game. Oh, cool. So using all... Okay, great. So the cards should be recognisable as such. Each suit is tied to a specific narrative theme. So spades is knowledge, learning, growing, overcoming suffering. Clubs is things, overcoming obstacles, action, adventure. Hearts is relationships, emotion, or connection. And then diamonds is self, ambition, or hopes. Jokers. A joker is considered wild and functions as one non-joker card each time it is played or revealed. After a joker is played or revealed for any reason, reshuffle the deck, including the joker. A black joker also triggers a draw for a possible corruption. Okay, so that's a non-colorized version of the card. Yeah. Each card in the player's hand represents the character's memories and constitutes what makes them human. Anytime a player is forced or chooses to play a card, they should think of it as their character forgetting something about themselves. Cards in hand should be always kept secret. After played cards are resolved, the narrator moves them into a discard pile kept behind the narrator's screen. Aces are high, and the maximum hand size is 7. Cards are earned as a reward for surviving missions, completing special tasks, and defeating antagonists, or when the narrator thinks a player has done something awesome. Cards serve multiple purposes in the game. We have the journey. The player must contribute at least 1 card to each journey made by the unit. If they do not have any cards, they must put 1 from the deck towards the journey without looking at it. Initiative. The player who reveals the highest card, or the antagonist with the highest printed initiative, chooses who acts first in each combat. Cards revealed for this purpose are not discarded. Players without any cards may discard an initiative card from the deck, which is not added to their hand. +1. A card may be spent during a skill roll to add a +1 effect of the player's choice to the roll. Okay, so that's like if you don't have the if you don't have the enough of the attributes, perhaps. And whispers. Oh, sorry, whispers. Many whispers require a card to be discarded or burnt to power the magic. Healing. In combat, cards can be represented to negate on a one-on-one basis to negate damage done to your character. And then out of combat, a card can be burnt at any time to heal any one attribute 1 point. This implies taking a break, mentally preparing yourself, or bandaging your wounds. And then character growth. At the end of the mission, characters can spend sets of cards to increase their attributes and skills. Oh, that's quite cool. So if you have like if you've got like I don't know, maybe it's not like poker, but like 2 of a kind or 4 of a kind or something like that. Or straight. That'd be quite interesting. Oh, cool. In general, the number of cards needed for one or more than in general, the number of cards needed is 1 more than the number of the new rank in the skill or attribute. For example, buying a 4th pip in Brawn requires discarding 5 cards. See the end of character creation for the full details. I do feel like this character creation should have been first. That's okay. Or to describe it a little bit more, but that's okay. So which Joker is which? Traditionally, card decks that have a Joker with a coloured image called the red Joker, and the Joker with the black and white version is the same, with the same edges, called the black Joker. I did not know that. Other decks of cards may have 2 different images or 2 identical Jokers. Examine your deck before play so you can decide which Joker is which. There you go. Good. Alright, corruption. Certain instances will cause a player to draw for corruption or take a chance of corruption. Whispered effect, adversary ability, mission instant, using the Black Joker, character advancement, whispers rank 3, 4 and 5. When a corruption chance occurs, the player draws a card from the deck and looks at it without revealing the card to the other players. If it is a black card, the character gains 1 corruption point. If it is a red card, no corruption occurs. If a player sees the card, after the player sees the card, they pass it to the narrator, who also looks at it. The narrator keeps a secret record of each character's total corruption. Corruption is not cleared at the end of the missions, though there are maybe chances to shed corruption during specific mission incidents. If any character has 5 corruption points at the end of a mission, they do not return to base with the unit, so they have now joined the others. If at any time someone has 3 corruption, the narrator can choose to add from the deck to the journey 1 card per player with 3 corruption. If at any time someone has 4 corruption, the narrator can choose to add up to 2 cards to the journey per player with 4 corruption. This represents the chaotic outside influence on the unit. Oh, that's quite cool. I like that as a mechanic, because it's a drawback for the players to have this much corruption, presumably, if you're getting the GM to add stuff to it. Let's see. The players and narrators should both keep track of the corruption. The player may not wish to write down the character's corruption because that is supposed to be a secret. The narrator should keep a written log because there may be modifications to the Journeys deck. Journeys deck, mission elements, or adversary interactions based on corruption levels. As characters gain more corruption, this illustrates their slow loss of humanity. How much they roleplay their corruptions is up to the player. As a character takes more corruption, they may not make the most optimal choices to assist the party, accomplish missions, or when contributing cards to the journey. In general, however, they're still trying, in brackets, perhaps in a twisted way, to work with the unit until the moment they are fully corrupted and wander away from humans. Combat. Initiative order. Initiative order is determined by the highest ranking card, with aces being high. Each player may show, in brackets, not discard, a card for consideration. Tied players may choose to show another card. Highest wins. If a character has no hand, they may wield a card from the deck. They do not put this card into their hand, and it is discarded after determining initiative. The winner of the initiative determines who goes first. After each action, the character who just acted determines who goes next. The narrator may group antagonists. However, however seems appropriate for the situation. Each group gets a spot on the initiative. The last character in the round chooses who begins the next round, but they may not choose themselves. Okay, that's different. That's a different one. I've not known that one. I always am like, I would definitely pick myself to go twice. I guess it makes sense for this sort of game. Some players may hold onto a card for a while, specifically to have a good place in the initiative order. On each of the characters' turns, they may make one action, an attack, skill roll, or a whisper. They may also move before or after they act. Defense. The rank of the targeted attribute is the target number for any attack, as normal. As normal, the target number must be equaled or surpassed for the attack to succeed. All attacks target brawn by default, but some abilities and whispers target other attributes. Armor. For a creature or a character with armor, the target number for attacks is the brawn or armor, whichever is highest at the moment. Attacks targeting other attributes are not affected by armor. The term armor is used as a general term for hard to hit. An armor-plated antagonist and a spectral one may both have an armor of 5, but are hard to hit for distinct reasons. Damage by weapon or whisper. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we've got a sample combat. Oh lord, that's a lot. Oh wow, that's a... Oh gosh, you gotta love the layout on this one. Okay, I'm gonna read through the sample combat, it might make sense. So, after failing a stealth challenge, the unit falls under attack in heavy woods by a mob of 3 common soldiers led by a Veil Priest. Simpson has 3 cards and reveals a 10 of spades in his hand. Roth has 4 cards and shows an 8 of diamonds. Duran chooses not to show any of his 5 cards. The common soldiers have a 6, and the Veil Priest also has a 6 according to their statistics. Simpson has the highest initiative, as it's on the numbers, not based on the cards, that's fine. The suits, sorry. And decides who's to act first. He takes the first action himself and fires his rifle at the priest, which has a brawn of 4 for its defense. Excuse me. Simpson has a 2 training in ranged and 3 ranks in guts. His player uses the 2 of the ranks in guts to buy 2 additional dice and then rolls all 4. A 2, a 6, a 2 and a 5. With his last point of guts, the player rolls the failures again, a 5 and a 4. The shot still isn't good enough, so they will discard 4 of spades to buy 1 more pip to raise their 4 to a 5. Now with 4 successes, the shot lands, inflicting 2 damage, and Simpson decides to let the priest go next. Okay, so that makes sense, actually, now that we've sort of gone through that. So I do like that idea of the cards being a limited resource that you can burn through, essentially. I do quite like that. It's a little bit dense, though, I will say, to get through to now, but I think I got that. The narrator announces that the Veil Priest will cast a blood blade, as a ranged attack against Simpson. Though it looks dramatic, it is a risky attack because it requires 5 total successes, 4 to meet Simpson's brawn defense, and another to activate the power from range. The priest has free training in blood magic, but currently only has 2 brawn. The priest loses 1 brawn to activate the whisper and secures 1 success, and then buys a 4th dice with the last point of brawn and then rolls a 2, a 4, a 1 and a 4. With no remaining brawl points, the roll cannot be further manipulated and the whisper fails. Screaming fiercely, the priest moves forward towards it with terrible gleaming eyes showing from underneath its shadow hood. The narrator then chooses a mob of soldiers to go next. The mob takes aim at Simpson, who already has proven to be a threat. Pooling their ranged skill rolls, they come up with 5 successes, enough to hit Simpson's brawn of 4 with 1 extra. This extra success may be spent after the roll because the soldiers are using weapons, but since they are using pistols, there are no abilities they can activate from just 1 success. It is the normal damage of 2 from a single ranged weapon to Simpson. He wants to keep his 10 of spades for future initiative contests, as it is his highest card, so he discards the 9 of hearts instead to negate 1 damage. The narrator chooses Roth to go next. Roth also knows whispers. I also know whispers. She has a free training in elemental rituals and a 4 ranks in smart. Because she's using magic, her attack must be exactly planned before rolling dice. She decides she's willing to attempt to deal 2 damage to one of the common soldiers with a blast of wind. She needs a total of 3 successes for this attack, 2 to meet the brawn defense of the common soldier, and a 3rd success to buy a 2nd point of damage. Any card will do to activate the Whisper and grant her 1 success. So her player discards her 6 of clubs, and then they buy an additional dice and roll 2, 2, 5, 3. So, wait, does she buy another? Oh, I guess because she's used. Yeah, so she's got 4 ranks though. Oh no, I'm an idiot. So she uses the card to gain 1 success to access it. Fine, and then she is gonna buy an additional dice that goes down to 3. So then she has 4. Yeah, that makes sense. They then bump up the 3 to a 5 using some of the remaining spark points, and they get 3 successes that they need. Spell does 2 damage, killing one of the enemy soldiers. Only Duran remains, and Roth chooses them to go next. Duran rushes forward with a hand axe to attack another one of the soldiers. With 2 training in melee and 3 in brawn, this player buys an extra die for the attack and rolls a 1, 2, and 3. A total miss. They decide to re-roll all of his dice, a 5, 6, and 5, a perfect roll this time. He surpasses the 2 brawn of the soldier and deals 1 damage. The last success is not enough to buy him more damage, and he cannot spend his last point of brawn or the cards to buy another die now because the dice must all be bought before the roll. There's no special conditions in play to make note of at the end of the round, so the combat simply continues. Since he was the last character acting round, Duran gets to choose who will act first in the second round. He cannot choose himself, but instead of an ally, he tells the narrator the Veiled Priest can go first. Just whose side is Duran on? Okay, so it does kind of make sense. It would have been nice though to have like a little overview of okay, here are the skills, here is the attributes, and how they relate to them, rather than just having to work it out through reading it. Weapons. For weapons, successes in excess of a number required to hit. Usually the target's brawn. Are spent after rolling various weapon effects. The number of successes needed for each effect is listed in parentheses. So, once this is done, if we get an extra 2, we can get plus damage at 2 successes. If we get 3, we can get stuff like assault, if you use a bayonet or sword, a flurry with a staff, or criticals there with the pistols and the firearms. Oh, and you got some descriptions there about what they do. That's great. Oh, so there's some more conditions to inflict on people. Okay. Or a critical, if you're able to roll a d6 for damage instead. Flurry. Immediately make another attack against the same or different target. Oh, that's quite... fragmentation. Again, deal damage to 1d6 targets. Spray an additional target. Stun. All other targets unaffected by stun must act in the initiative before the affected character. Oh, great. So they get put down to the bottom of the initiative then. And then wreck. Permanently reduce the armor of the target by 1. Note. With ability... God, that's tiny writing there. With abilities that grant additional targets like from spray, grenades, and whispers, the target uses the same number of successes as the original attack against the additional target's defenses. Yeah, that's straightforward, simple. Equipment is treated abstractly. If a character has a gun, it is assumed they have a supply of ammunition to fire the weapon. All characters have basic equipment such as an entrenching tool, a knife, mess kit, and rations, as well as clothes, a gas mask, and personal effects. Some specific mission folios or events planned by the narrator can limit what characters have access to. The items soldiers most requested were matches, socks, newspapers, and letters from home. Vehicles. Most of the time, soldiers are on foot, but sometimes a vehicle will be part of a mission. When operating a vehicle, a character may use their own skills and abilities when appropriate, but most of their attention will be on operating the vehicle. During combat, they act on the initiative of the vehicle and may roll the abilities granted by the vehicle, modified by the brawn attribute of the vehicle. Could have done with some copy editing. As normal. The character may make one action on their turn, meaning they can only use one of the vehicle's abilities at one time. One character cannot drive a truck and fire the gun from the back of the truck at the same time, for example. However, some vehicles allow for multiple characters to operate distinct parts of the vehicle simultaneously. Occupants of a vehicle do not take damage from attacks on the vehicle. All attacks against a vehicle must target brawn. Vehicles are immune to attacks that target other attributes. When a vehicle's brawn falls to 0, the target is rendered inoperable and is effectively destroyed. Whereas a destroyed or abandoned vehicle might be a good place to hide some cases, if the enemy knows you're there, you just become a sitting duck. Oh, and then they're going to have some examples for what kinds of, I'm just going to move out a little bit, what kinds of vehicles we've got. So we've got a truck there with some special abilities. We've got a tank. I wonder what that X means. I guess it's the type of stuff you use. Deals 2 damage. I got airplane there as well. Hang on, I'm going to look into it a little bit. So what do those boxes actually mean? Oh, I see. I guess it deals one damage to the brawn. I see. It deals 1 damage to brawn if you use that ability. Okay. We've got. Oh no, it's still part of the airplane. Is the tail gun. All right. So there's 3 examples of different vehicles there. Whispers. The powerful beings from beyond the veil whisper through the cracks in reality. Those who choose to listen to these whispers learn how to manipulate reality. Individuals may style themselves as keepers of ancient knowledge or as heralds on the Earth's new masters. They may call what they do magic or arcane arts or little tricks. They can adopt whatever names, clothing, and trappings they desire. Robes, cards, hand gestures, old books, necklaces of bone. No matter what it looks like or what they call it, their power is ultimately coming from the others. And the more powerful they become, the more of their humanity they lose in the process. The whisper skill can be used to know general information about magic, like recognition of a rune, identifying the effects of a particular whisper, or potentially knowing the weakness or habits of a supernatural creature. If the whisper skill is bought temporarily, it only applies this knowledge and does not grant the character magic powers. All characters who train in the whisper skill, i.e. have a point of training, are called casters. Individual powers are known as whispers and are grouped into different whisper paths. Different whisper paths draw on different attributes. When a caster takes their first point of training, they will choose a whisper path and select one whisper to learn from that path. Each time they earn a new point of training. It can be added to a current whisper path, or the character can begin training in a new path. Each path is treated as a separate skill because it may use different attributes and has a different level of training. Like weapons, many whispers have augments, which can be added to the basic effect by rolling successes beyond the target number. Augments are specific to each whisper and are listed in the whisper's description. Unlike weapons, whisper effects must be fully planned before rolling any dice. If the whisper skill roll fails to provide the required number of successes for the whisper as planned, the roll fails completely and nothing happens. Many whisper paths provide ways to gain additional successes on the roll. Some whisper effects use the terms target and victim. The target of the whisper is the character or characters the whisper is directed against. The defense of the target is the target number for the whisper skill roll. If the roll succeeds, the target becomes a victim and suffers the effect of the whisper, usually damage. The skill roll must succeed to have a victim. So we've got the steps here. Choose whisper and any augments. Spend any spell requirements, so discard a card, take some damage, roll for it to see if it succeeds. Make additional sacrifices, some paths only, and only if it's successful do the effects apply. So how many of these paths do we got? So I can see we've got blood rites. It's a little bit hard to read through, huh? Oh, these must be different kinds of ones. We've got blood rites. Wow, there's loads of these. Oh, maybe they're not. Hang on. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. They're not. It's not like, oh, this is one. So these are all different paths then. Sorry. I was going to see how many there were. Yeah, I understand now. I'm an idiot. These different paths. So we've got blood rites. We've got. So that's 1. Rotten tricks is 2. Odd ways is smarts. Elemental rituals is also smarts. That's 4. Healing words is guts. That's 5. Chaos songs is guts as well. 6. And that's it. Okay, so you've got 6 different paths there. 2 for each of the attributes. And then underneath them are these. Presumably you can pick like these individual things. Let's read through the blood rites. Let's see what it says. So the caster willingly uses their own blood as a source of power. Becomes much harder to stop until they bleed themselves dry. For each blood rite they use, they must take 1 damage to brawn. And this counts as 1 automatic success. Many rites do not require a skill roll because blood mages target themselves. They may take additional brawn damage themselves, or allies may take the damage to create additional successes, 1 point of damage per success. This damage may be taken before or after rolling the dice. So we have strength. They become supernaturally strong for the next action, which has the benefit of +1 damage to melee attacks. And then if you roll an extra success, it lasts to the end of combat. Oh, no, I see. Get more damage, and then it could last to the end of combat if you have 3. Damn. You've got scabs. Creates a tough second skin to able to absorb damage. What? Lasts until destroyed or until end of combat. Speed. They become supernaturally fast before the next action. Interject. The caster could decide when they act in initiative on the next round. Before or after any character takes an action, the caster may declare that they are taking an action instead. The caster has only 1 normal action per round. Okay, so once they've done it, they can't do it again. Bloodbane. Magical blood streams from the caster's open wounds and forms a solid object to cut into enemies. Blood double. When the caster would take damage instead, their body explodes in a pool of blood, and the caster appears nearby unhurt. Oh, I love that's very cool. Okay, those are all the ones. So we have, hang on, sorry, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So 6 specific things you could do with the blood rites pass. I like those. Those are horrible. I like those though. With rotten tricks, the caster forces their own body to spew forth noxious clouds of a magical nature. It's a disgusting process and leaves the caster's mouth covered in sores and the taste of bile. All tricks require a successful whisper skill roll against the target's defense. If the attack roll fails, the vile cloud is still released onto the battlefield. The caster must then immediately succeed at a different skill roll listed within each of the whispers, or the cloud blows back onto the caster and any allies, making them suffer the whisper's effect instead. Oh dear, so we've got still air. After several deep breaths, the caster inhales deeply and creates a complete magical barrier around them and any willing allies. The target number to create still air is the caster's current brawn. On a failure, there is no blowback, the barrier simply fails to fall. Still air protects those inside from all attacks, including other whispers originating outside of the barrier. Sounds from outside are muffled, and looking through the barrier is like peering through thick glass. The force field may not be bypassed by gas or moved from its current point of creation in any way. The barrier cannot be used to trap hostile antagonists and does not prevent allies from willingly leaving. The caster may maintain still air by forfeiting their action to concentrate. This may be done for as many consecutive rounds as the caster's current brawn. Oh, that's quite... Wretch. The caster vomits a stream of foul-smelling acid towards a nearby target. On a hit, the fluid deals 3 damage to anything inorganic. Organic substances are not harmed. If the initial attack misses, roll mechanics with the same target number to prevent blowback. Oh no. Nobody wants that tactical chunder to come back at you, do they? Poison. A thick cloud of yellow or pale green smoke pours from the caster's mouth and the nose with a burning sensation which the caster may send against living targets. Poison deals 2 damage, and if it misses, roll range with the same target number to prevent blowback. Then we have smoke. With a series of wrecking coughs and powerful sneezes, the caster fills the area around a target with grey smoke, which is cold, almost like a fog, and lays thickly in low areas. The smoke completely blocks through the cloud, making range attacks and many whispers impossible. If the initial attack fails, roll stealth with the same target number to prevent blowback. And caster may maintain the smoke with the same target number to prevent. Maintain the smoke by forfeiting their action to concentrate. This may be done for as many consecutive rounds as the caster's current brawn. Strange wind. By screaming into the sky, the caster creates a buffeting wind that blows against a target from all directions. This attack targets smarts. If the initial attack misses, roll athletics with the same target number to prevent blowback. Victims of strange wind sorry, made myself laugh there. Have their target number for all attacks they make increased by 2 for their next action. The target may maintain strange wind, quite hard to do, by forfeiting their action to concentrate. This may be done for as many consecutive turns, consecutive rounds as the caster has current brawn. And then finally, swamp gas. With a resounding burp and a powerful exhalation, the caster sends a wave of stinking gas at one target. This attack targets guts and deals 1 damage. If the initial attack fails, roll knowledge with the same target number to prevent blowback. Cool. I do like how they've described like it feels very like spell-like. Obviously, the whole point of whispers, they are supposed to be like magic, but I liked how it also feels very grim. Like rotten tricks, that sounds awful. But it'd be quite cool to do. I quite like how they describe that. What's the one I really liked? I like the well, I actually like the smoke one, the series of wrecking coughs and powerful sneezes. That proper feels like a... It's just because I've been playing Resident Evil, it feels like a proper Resident Evil thing that they're about to cough it. That Ramond is trying to cough on and splutter it all over me again. Oh, god damn it. I mean, to be fair, Ramond was what they were doing, Wretch, really, rather than Smoke. So the third whisper path is the Old Ways, which uses smarts. Some secrets were gleaned from the others long ago and have been passed on in secret form from teacher to pupil throughout the ages. These ancient ways are genuinely the least powerful of whispers, but they are also less costly for the caster. The old ways do not require anything more than a successful whisper roll against the target's defense. However, most of the whispers have no effect unless they also add augments. So we have, I like the names of these ones. The Wolf's Head. A prayer and a few taps to the face grants a target wolf-like senses superior to human. The caster may put on the wolf's head on themselves or an ally. In either case, the target number is the target's current brawn. The whisper lasts for a few hours and generally lowers the target number of applicable skill rolls. The Heart's Who's. A poem in an ancient tongue grants the target deer-like speed superior to human. The caster may put them on themselves or on an ally. In either case, the target number is the target's current brawn. The whisper lasts for an hour. The effect lasts... sorry, I'm just reading the rest of that. So it normally lasts for an hour, but it could also last to the next sunrise or sunset if you get 2 extra successes on top of that, and then may attack a second time at the end of the round if you get an extra 3. Whoa. The Friend. The caster looks like an animal in the eye and... Oh. No, they don't look like an animal. The caster looks an animal in the eye and calms or redirects their fear and aggression. Calmed animals do not attack the caster, and empathetic communication is possible. Animals given commands assist the caster if able. Beasts can only be commanded to attack, and this targets guts. Oh, and you can see there's obviously animal, corrupted beasts, command one animal. Those are the those additional whispers if you get those successes. Then we have sickness. By blowing some dust into the air, the caster puts a simple hex on the target. Sickness targets either brawns, so like flu or cramps, or smarts, headache, and deals 1 damage. Oh, my stomach! Oh. Healing circle. With raised arms and an ancient chant, a healing aura forms around the caster. The total number of characters who can benefit from an aura is limited to the current smarts. It's pretty good though. But here you have to give augmentations to it, I guess, don't you? Rove. If some living plants can be found before sunset, the caster can lay down as if to sleep and create the illusion of a peaceful forest clearing. All willing allies may sleep peacefully for the night, and nothing enters the grove to disturb the sleepers. Oh, sounds good. That sounds like a. Oh, what's it called? I call it the bubble, but it's not called that. Not the mansion. I can't remember what it is in D&D. It's the sphere. I call it the bubble. It's not called that. It's like Mordekainen's Magnificent Tent or something. The target number is the number of sleepers, including the caster. Each participant may also place a card face up on the table. This does not count as playing a card. Anyone who places a card may then take one of the place cards, or a card from the deck, or pass. The caster chooses the order. If any of the cards remain face up on the table, they are discarded, but the caster must face a chance of corruption. Wait, what? Why would they put up a card in the first place? What does that do? Does it add to the? I'm guessing it adds to the success, right? I don't know. Maybe it's just a chance for everyone to swap cards a little bit. Elemental rituals. So this is number 4 of the Whisper Paths. Uses smarts. Study of the basic elements and energies of the universe allows the caster to command the forces of nature. The elements can be forced to accomplish a simple task or to attack a foe. For all elemental rituals, the caster must discard a card, which counts as 1 automatic success, and then succeed at a whisper roll against a target defense. If the caster has no cards, discard 1 from the deck. If it is a black card, they must also take a chance of corruption. If the caster uses up a source of the element for the chosen whisper, it grants 1 additional automatic success to the roll. What do you mean? Oh. Lighting a candle, pouring out a jug, throwing a stone, or releasing feathers into a breeze are all examples of using up a resource. I was like, what the hell's a resource of an element? I see. Maybe a more role-playing thing then. Okay. Fire. So these are the individual whispers who are fire, so the commander flames, explosions, and heat. They may maintain command of a non-attack effect by forfeiting their action to concentrate. Attacks target brawn and deal 1 damage. Water, command of rivers, lakes, and the ocean. May maintain, yada. Earth, command of rocks, mud, and plants. All brawn so far. Air, command of wind, storm, and fog. Star, command of the night sky and stars. The caster summons a rain of meteorites to the battlefield. Oh, that's really cool. The number of targets and the total amount of damage dealt must add up to the number of pips on the die's discarded card. Base cards count as 10. Oh my gosh! Wow! Oh wow! Other characters may join in the ritual, and player characters may contribute 1 card each. All contributed cards can add 1 automatic success. If any black cards are contributed, the caster faces chance of corruption. On their next combat action, the caster can only move. That's fair enough, because that's a very cool whisper. But yeah, I can imagine just be like, I'm just gonna keep using star. Why not? You still have to do that target roll, right? Yes, so. Then mental anguish. The caster attempts to destroy a target's psyche. Attacks target smarts and deal 1 damage. There's no relevant element for this. There's just this, like, the element of stress. Then we have Healing Word Guts. Not all the whispers speak of wholesale destruction. Some find in the mutterings of the others charms for extending life, and even words of hope. For all healing words, the caster must discard a card, which counts as 1 automatic success, and then succeed at a whisper roll against the proper defense. If the caster has no cards, they may not use a whisper. If the caster's current guts is at their maximum total, they gain 1 additional automatic success on their whisper skill rolls. So here we have Body Heal, recovers brawn damage but cannot be healed beyond their maximum. Mind Rest targets smarts but cannot be healed beyond their maximum. Ooh, hang on, sorry, I missed this bit. If 3 or more damage is healed, warm light, yellow light shines in the area. If 3 or more damage is healed, soft music plays on an unidentifiable instruments. Unidentifiable instruments can be heard. Spirit Charge recovers gut damage but can't be healed beyond the maximum. If more than 3 damage is healed, a gentle breeze caresses everyone present. Ooh. Holiday. A group ritual which eases tensions and lifts spirits. The target number for Holiday is the caster's current smarts. The number of targets and the total amount of healing must add up to the number of pips on the caster's discarded card. I assume by pips they mean like the number, because obviously the number of pips for me means on the die, except that's what they used it before. So presumably it's on the cards itself. Other characters may join in with the ritual and contribute 1 card each. They add 1 automatic success, so it's very similar to that star whisper from before. And again, if any black cards are contributed, they face a chance of corruption and they can only move next time. Fair enough. That's quite cool. I like that Holiday one, yeah. Mercy Aura. The caster surrounds themselves with a pale aura which draws in spiritual energy. When a player character dies, the healer may take a random card from the hands of the deceased if any remain. The effect lasts until used or until the end of combat. A minimum of 1 success is required to begin the aura, but the total target number is set by the augmentations chosen. Take a second random card. Take a card as the characters dealt more damage. What would be the benefit of that then? I guess you just take their stuff. I don't know. I don't know why you would take the cards from them. Interesting. I don't know. Oh, I guess maybe it's more PvP perhaps. I don't know. Anyway. And then finally we got Sense Corruption. The caster's hand appears to turn to glass, and touching a target grants insights into the target's soul. When the ritual is performed, the narrator makes a hand of cards from the discarded cards equal to the character's current corruption level. 1 black card for each corruption. For each success the caster rolls, they draw 1 hand from the card. Wait, does it have to be... Do they all have to be black cards then? Or can it just be a random... It makes a hand of cards, which indicates to me that it'll be completely random, equal to the character's current corruption level, so they've already got a corruption level. But I guess... And then, do they take more? Because I think at a certain point, is it up to 5 that they get, they die, they disappear, right? And then the final whisper path is Chaos Songs. By embracing direct connection to the others, the follower of this whisper path learns Chthonic prayers unspoken since the ancient times, and becomes a mad jester dancing to insane music made by alien horrors. Each time a caster uses Chaos Songs, they must take 1 damage to guts. This counts as an automatic success. They may take additional guts damage themselves, or allies may take the damage to create additional successes. 1 point of damage per success. This additional damage may be taken before or after midday. Alright, and then we've got Make Them Flee. Caster strikes up a threatening chant which invokes fear in those who hear it. Allies may join the chant, but they suffer guts 1 suffer 1 guts damage as well. All sacrifice ranks of gut add 1 automatic success to the song. This attack targets guts. Success means the victims are panic-stricken and retreat, leaving combat. You're basically doing a football chant of some sort, right? I have been watching Welcome to Wrexham recently, which I've enjoyed quite a bit. It's a very well edited together piece of footage, or series or TV show. Alright, put them off. With a series of annoying screeching calls, the caster ruins a target's ability to focus on fighting. This attack targets guts, and victims have their target number for all attacks they made increased by 2 for their next action. Hey, what are you doing? Pay attention to me. Draw their ire. By making a rasping cooing noise and halting movements reminiscent of a dying bird, the caster makes themselves nearly impossible to ignore. This attack targets their smarts. Victims of Draw Their Ire may only attack the caster on the next turn. Okay, I mean, I feel these two are fairly similar. Stare them down. Locking eyes with a target, the caster lets the target look through their own eyes into the emptiness beyond the veil. This attack targets guts and deals 1 damage. And then finally, we've got Steal Their Dreams. Steal their dreams, take their brain. The caster walks through the mind of a victim and may take something away with them. This attack targets smarts. If the victim is a player character and has cards in their hand, the caster may take 1 card at random. If the victim has no cards or is an NPC, the caster may still learn useful or interesting information from the victim. If the victim is an antagonist, the caster steals a card from the reward the antagonist would normally give, possibly eliminating that reward. Those are the paths, at least. Those are quite cool. I quite like how descriptive they are. And obviously in the core book, currently quite simple and short. So, finally, at page 24, we're at character creation. This definitely should have come first. So, at the top we have divide 10 points between 3 attributes. Brawns, smarts, and guts. Yeah, 3 attributes, so that's what we've always done. So, brawns is related to strength, flexibility, and physical health. Smart is related to intelligence, knowledge, and mental health. And then guts is courage, willpower, and emotional health. Each stat is required to start with 1 and can be enhanced later on through game. The average human ability for each of these attributes is 3. Peak of it is 6, and attributes greater than 6 indicate superhuman and possibly supernatural abilities. Attributes that govern 3 things. Health, so physical, mental, emotional. If you take damage, reduce the target attribute. If any attribute reaches 0, your character dies. Oh wow. Starting any attribute with 1 will leave you very vulnerable. Unless otherwise stated, anytime a character receives healing and damage, Unless otherwise stated, anytime a character receives healing, damage can be healed from any attribute. Right, that makes sense. Defense. This is a target number others need to hit to damage that attribute. And skill manipulation, the +1 system. The attributes are linked to specific skills that indicate which ones they can manipulate. All skills require hitting a target number of successes. 5 or 6 on a d6 is a success. Your character's score in a skills governing attribute indicates how many times that skill roll can be manipulated. This is what it's saying from before, isn't it? A roll can be manipulated in following ways. So either before the roll, you can either gain an untrained skill, so bolt dice, or add a dice to the roll. And then after a roll, you can add an extra pip to a dice, or re-roll any number of dice and keep that result once per roll. The lower the attribute gets, the easier it is to hit, and the less manipulation you have at your disposal. Gender, sexuality, and personal history. These are all parts of your character. Consider them. They may come into play from time to time, but mostly where you are from, how you represent yourself, and whomever you're attracted to are subsumed under the pressures you face as a soldier. They may come out more strongly in your memories, but they will be amongst the aspects of your humanity you may be forced to give up just to survive. Hmm. Also doesn't say, like, you know, hey, be historically accurate. Maybe it's all male presenting. Maybe it's not. And I think that's really cool, actually. That it sort of doesn't say that. It would be good if it said, like, doesn't matter, really. But the fact that deciding what these things means that they're precious to you and you could lose them. And I think that's an important thing, is making them count, making them important. Oh, right. A great image. Really good image. Training. Okay, so following on. Select 3 skills from the following list, and these are your trained skills. We have athletics, melee, stealth, which are all related to brawn. And then we have communications, knowledge, mechanics, which are all related to smarts. And investigation, ranged, and transport, which are all guts. And then whispers, which we know they're about whisper path, etc. I'm just trying to see if there's anything particularly that we need to check on these. Not really. I think they all sort of make sense. And then assign. Wait, so select 3 skills. Oh, so we select 3 of these. Okay. Then assign 3 skill dice amongst your trained skills. Each point of training represents either a skill, either a level of formal schooling on the subject or years of experience. These points can be distributed in any way: 3, 0, 0, 0, 2, 1, 0, or 1, 1, 1. A training skill with no skill dice is still considered a train. Oh, interesting. Right, I understand that, yeah. If you assign a skill die to a whisper skill, choose the whisper path and choose one of the spells from the path. When you assign additional skill dice to the whisper skill, you may... My keys about to turn off. Yep. If you assign a skill die to a whisper skill, choose... Yeah, sorry, I've said that. When you assign an additional skill dice to the whisper skill, you may either add training to the current path or train in a new path. You will have 1 spell for each point of training in the path. 1 spell for each point. Okay. So if you had, say, that... Let's go back a little bit. Say for this one, if we had the Chaos Songs one, if I had 2 points in this, I could be like, I can make them flee and hold them fast. But if I wanted to make them flee, but then this the holiday one, I have to have a new path for that. That makes sense. That bit. Yep. Deployment. Draw 3 cards representing your starting mental and emotional resources. You may immediately spend cards to build your character or retain them for use during gameplay. Who is in charge? Never Going Home is intended to focus on low-ranking soldiers sent on missions by officers who stay in the relative safety of their field officers behind the front lines. Once the unit goes out on a mission, no one is there to make the decisions for them or end arguments with, but I outrank you. Soldiers in the field will have to work things out as equals or pick their own leaders. Of course, in a proper military organisation, someone is always in charge. If you want to incorporate ranks, a chain of command, or field promotions into games, feel free to do so. At the start of any mission with a ranking officer, that officer may take a chance on corruption and then draw 4 cards from a deck and distribute them amongst the soldiers of the unit as they see fit, respecting the hand size limit. The officer may keep some or all of the cards. I'm just wondering about that corruption stuff. I'll check it in a second. I can't remember what it was about the corruption. It's a corruption check. Said right? Chat and set corruption. I'll check it in a second. Let me finish this and I'll go back and have a check. That character growth. At the end of a mission, the characters receive their decoration cards. They may spend cards to build up their character, and once they're spent, they're discarded. So you can get a new skill, so any combination of cards, which costs 1 plus the number of extra skills. The first new skill costs 2 cards, second new skill costs 3 cards, etc, etc. A new skill die, so any combination of cards, this could be 1 plus the number of the new training pip. Oh, I see. Cost is 1 plus the number of the new training pip. So filling in a pip of 4 of the communication skill would cost 5 cards. So 1 plus 4. And then attributes. Increase an attribute. Any combination of red cards. The number of cards spent is 1 plus the number of the new attribute rank. So it would be 7 if you're trying to make Brawn level 6. Collecting this many red cards should be difficult. Modifiers. If all the cards are of the same suit, the cost is reduced by 1. You must have enough cards to buy the advancement, but keep one of the cards of your choice. Oh, okay, that's quite cool. I like that as a modifier. Oh, we're reading this book. Hello, Aaron. Hello. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining. Yes, yeah, I'm reading through this Never Going Home PDF because it's one of those ones where I was like, I've never really explored the this particular sort of genre. I'm going for it. I must say it's a bit dense at the beginning. Could have done with a bit of reorganisation, but so far so good. But hope you're well, my friend. Happy New Year. Modifiers, and then if all the cards are face cards and or aces, increase the effect by 1. For example, 1 training pit, 1 skill. Yeah. So I just want to check about that corruption thing though. So what? Because we had that chance from corruption before. Sorry, I'm going to be really annoying and zoom back. We had it. The layout is so dense. It's past now. It wasn't that. So fun vehicles we've done. Combat, no. Corruption, there we go. What did we have to do? So, oh, that's it. It was just literally you had to draw a card from the deck without revealing it to others, and then it was, yeah, that was it. I couldn't remember if it was a skill roll or not. It'd be good if there was like an actual like reference, quick reference sheet for this game. Anyway, where were we? We've done Whisper Paths. We were training, we've done in charge, there we go. World at War, that's where we were going. I'm guessing this is going to be a bit of context and stuff, so we'll read as a little bit as we can. I think all that we've done now, we're done with the main system. So I've been comparing this period to a historical estuary where one generation and another generation sort of mingle. The old world and the new world. But maybe it's more of a wormhole through time, and this 19th century group of people transitions to the 20th century. It's not going to make it intact. It's going to suffer damage on the way through. It's like a birthing process to the modern era, and it can be bloody and painful and potentially fatal too. The First World War, sometimes referred to as the Great War or simply World War I, was a conflict between the major powers of Europe and their colonies between the years of 1914 and 1918. Through most of the iconic imagery from the war based on battles that raged on the Western Front, modern-day Belgium and France, there were battles fought across Europe, Asia, Africa and on the seas. It saw the advent of new military technology, everything from machine guns and other heavy artillery to chemical weapons, tanks and military planes, which, as Dan Carlin comments, led to massive destruction, upheaval and death. The war toppled empires and changed the face of Europe for the modern era. Though many volumes have been written trying to explain the underlying causes that caused the outbreak of war in the summer of 1914, there is some undisputed facts. On June 28th, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne of Austrian-Hungary, was assassinated along with his wife whilst on a state visit to Sarajevo. His death sparked a spirit of chaos amongst the leaders of Europe, as each nation tried to anticipate each other's moves while simultaneously choosing sides in all the potential conflicts. This period is simultaneously choosing sides in all the potential conflict. This period is known as the July Crisis. When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia in July 28th, a cascade began. On July 30th, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia authorized general mobilization of troops. In response, Germany declared war on Russia on Australia on August 1st, the same day that France began to mobilize their troops. Germany invaded Luxembourg on August 2nd, and August 3rd invaded Belgium and declared war on France. On August 4th, Britain declared war on Germany. On August 6th, Austria-Hungary declared war on Russia. On August 12th, Britain and France declared war on Austria-Hungary. The country split into two alliances, the Allied powers, Britain, France and Russia, and the Central powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary. But it is impossible to detail every battle or major event in such a short, in so short a volume as this. But it is possible to lay out a general timeline for the first 2 years of the conflict, right up till the first day of the Battle of the Somme on July 1st, 1916. The fighting began in continental Europe, specifically in Belgium and France. August and September 1914 saw the creation of the lines of conflict across what is known as the Western Front, the source of most of the images one has seen of trench warfare. The trench lines at the end of September 1914 remained largely unchanged for the duration of the war. At the Eastern Front, Russia, in Serbia and in colonies across Africa, fighting also brought out at the start of the war in 1914. There was a general feeling that the war would not last long. By the start of 1915, however, it became clear that to military commanders that there would be no easy path to victory. Battles broke out across the globe as a result, in the Italian Alps, Turkey, Sinai, Palestine, and sorry, my brain is going completely blank. Macedonia. Whoa, I just completely lost all pronunciation there. I mean, in general, it's already gone. Macedonia. As nations tried new tactics to rout their opponents, cut off supply lines, and weaken the resolve of the enemy. War still raged across Europe in the trenches too, and by the turn of 1916, the Allied powers were ready for something big that could break the stalemate on the Western Front. In January 1916, Sir Douglas Haig, commander of the British First Army, began planning an operation to wear out the enemy and exhaust his reserves. The plan would develop through the spring and would be known as the history as the Somme Offensive. It was a massive undertaking that involved moving troops, building barricades and transporting water and food, all of which involved building roads, railways and pumping stations. As the situation at Verdun, where the French forces had undergone a German offensive for months, worsened, General Joseph Joffre, commander-in-chief of the big French army, sorry, this layout is doing my head in, of the French armed forces at the Western Front, pushed Haig to start the big push at the Somme no later than July 1st, 1916. He wanted the offensive to be a joint operation. And this is where our story begins. Wow. The world broken, the veil torn, July 1916. On the first day of the Battle of the Somme, 1st of July 1916, 30,000 people were killed. If the others were already looking at the world and pushing on through the fabric of reality, this massive number of dead and even more enormous number who lay wounded on the battlefield was the final push tearing the veil between worlds. No one was close enough to see what the tearing looked like to survive to describe it. They were overwhelmed by the first wave of corrupt energies and turned into the first heralds of that terrible new reality. Those further away from the centre of the tearing saw a bright light, and most of it took it for a great explosion or some terrible new weapons. Those sensitive to the world beyond its material surface began to hear the whispers almost immediately. Some few of these resisted the cloying voices of the others long enough to write down their impressions. At first, the voices were not whispers, but seemed like screaming in the minds of those able to hear. Oof. The veil is nothing new. In fact, it is something quite old. Our ancestors understood it. They feared it. They tried to appease it. Sometimes they worshipped it and even tried to use it. It is known, has been known, and despite the earliest 20th century claims of advancement, science, learning, and reason conquering the superstitious beliefs of early peoples, we never quite forgot it. Still, the question has never been satisfactorily answered. What is the veil? That may be a question better left unanswered, but the time for that has passed. Understanding it matters if humanity is going to survive. To put it succinctly, the veil is the membrane between the world and all the others. Much later in human history, if it survives the great unending war, humanity would begin to better understand the nature of the universe, and there are multiple dimensions, multiple existences. Between them all is the veil. In most cases, the veil is impermeable. Can't get through it. No science can pierce it, no energy massive enough to disrupt it. Not the titanic force of stars exploding, nor the reality-wrenching depths when they collapse into a single point. However, there is something about life, or maybe thought, or will itself, which punches right through the veil under the right circumstances. God, that's so cool as a line. That it's not force or energies, like, it's not an explosion. It is something about it's humanity itself, something that is so sort of not tangible, probably something very subjective. Yeah, I like that. I think that's very cool. It is possible that the others discovered this, although, given their capricious and corrupt natures, they more likely stole the secrets of the veil off some bloated corpse of some other long lost civilization of greater beings. Who knows how many times, if time is even a factor to beings outside the known existence, the veil has been discovered, analysed, and ripped. Perhaps 1,000 civilizations have discovered the potential and the power to cross dimensions and reality, ascending to some higher plane of existence. Perhaps 1,000 times as many reached for such lofty goals, only to fall to murder, mayhem, and madness on a scale unimaginable. Now it is humanity's turn. We have discovered it all the way. We discovered it the way all others before us have likely discovered it. The veil is most vulnerable to intense psyche, thought, will, whatever it may be. When the mind is at its most focused and coherent, it can slice through the veil. In most cases, this only occurs at the most intense moment of a being's life, at a moment of violent or painful death. At that instance, the human mind is at its most focus. This is why humans have cast others into volcanoes, carved their hearts out on altars of stone underneath the stars, and have thrown the innocent into raging fires throughout history. Those moments send needle stabbings through the veil, like pinpricks through the ether. Though these pinpricks, ancient peoples whispered their desires, wishes, and curses to whoever was listening on the other side. Usually, it failed, but sometimes it worked. Something listened, and for whatever reason, acted. But those small moments where the veil was pierced were brief and fleeting. The veil healed itself quickly, closing again to its relatively impermeable self. Excuse me. However, there is a way to permanently weaken the veil, keep the tears open longer, to do more than just whisper. It just requires a lot more people dying at once. A whole lot more. Like those who died in the early battles of the Great War. Once all that death had weakened the veil, it even rendered it permanently in places. Things changed. It was too much for the veil to heal back from. Even when it did recover, new tears, new calamities, and more death just occurred elsewhere soon after. Crouched, waiting, hungering in the in-between places of reality, space and time, were the others. Excuse me. Ooh. Ooh. Coughing away now. Not good. Might need to go get a cup of tea in a second. Oh. Our universe alone is unspeakably vast. Yeah, what's that? Oh dear, oh dear. This is what happens when you don't warm up properly. The entirety of the universes, all time, all realities, is something the human mind can never truly begin to grasp. It goes for the same for most other beings as well, even the others. One may be able to pierce the veil through death, or in the case of those who seek to master magic, sheer willpower. However, poking through to another reality that's habitable, or which is even compatible with your own on the most basic primordial level, would be like winning the lottery every day for a year. So the others instead just waited. Instead just wait and reach out across the veil like a spider on its web. For some unfortunate or foolish species to pluck at the strings. When one does, the others rush to the breaches, whispering out of the darkness, teaching their new acolytes how to use the very essence of the veil, the very fabric that keeps reality together. To the receiving species, this seems like a boon. For those who are sensitive to the other's whisperings, who can understand it, and who can focus their will without being tossed into a volcano or having their hearts ripped out, to learn how to manipulate the veil. They learn to perform magic. But every spell is a trauma, every casting a calamity, every invocation is akin to convincing the mind it is in its dying moments. The mind does not hold up well under that kind of regular onslaught. Neither does the veil of reality. And that's why the others whisper. The more one uses magic, the more one tears at the veil. The more one species uses magic, invariably, the more wide-scale death and destruction occurs, and the more the veil tears. And the more the veil is torn, the weaker it gets. The weaker it gets, the easier it is to move in between realities. The easier it is to move in between realities, the more things slip through to prey and hunt and feast. Species subjected to this then feels compelled to use its newfound gifts to combat these things. The veil is thus weakened once more. More slip through, more death, more magic, more war, less veil. Until, well, that's perhaps a question like, what is a veil? That's perhaps a question. That's perhaps a question. Like, what is the veil that is better left unanswered? What a great bit of history, lore building and world building. No Man's Land is like the face of the moon, chaotic, crater-ridden, uninhabitable, awful, the abode of madness. At the words trench warfare, the mind often conjures images of a long, deeply dug trench stretching for miles as far as the eye can see. Whilst this is true, it's only part of the story. The trenches for both Allied powers and Central powers were more than just one lengthy line that stretched on forever. Each side fighting on the Western Front had a vast network of trenches, through which they moved soldiers, artillery, and supplies. There were trenches for reserve fighters, and those for active combat. Rather than just a single line, the trenches looked more like a web, a sprawling manufactured system of protection, transport, and respite. In between, the land that stretched from the Allied powers' trenches to those of the Central powers was aptly named No Man's Land. No Man's Land was the land that neither the Allied powers nor the Central powers could claim as their own ground. It was only occupied by abandoning military equipment and death. The space between the trenches lines could stretch as far as a few hundred yards or meters, but in some areas the trenches between the opposing armies was much closer. The terrain between the trenches was pockmarked with shelled craters and riddled with the bodies of fallen soldiers and animals. It was poisoned from the use of arsenic, chloroform gas, and other chemical weapons. It was a trap of barbed wire, of twisted barbed wire and landmines, where one was under constant threat of machine gun fire from the enemy. Though it was a deadly place, soldiers did have to venture into No Man's Land on occasion. during an attempt to gain ground, for example, or afterwards to retrieve the dead or wounded. The fear and the dread that was surrounded from venturing, the fear and dread that surrounded venturing over the top, as veterans have described coming out of the trench into no man's land, was palpable. As Harry Patch, the longest surviving veteran of the trenches, commented, "If any man tells you he went over the top and said he wasn't scared, he's a damn liar." Tragically, because of the fear and, quite honestly, the logistics involved, not every wounded soldier was retrieved, and many met a gruesome end in the mud as they waited for their comrades to take them on a stretcher to safety. Even 100 years after the fact, remains are still being uncovered in these areas, where thousands gave up their lives to gain a few yards on the enemy. The Allied powers, Entente Alliance, the Third French Republic. So it's probably going to go into a lot more detail about the individual powers, which is fair enough. I'm just going to move on a little bit because I appreciate it. I mean, I did do the content warning at the beginning of the session, so but I think it's good to know. I quite like because I will admit, being growing up in the British education system, we learn a lot about World War I and World War II. Not so much about more recent stuff, which is a bit of annoying. Oh, that might have changed since obviously I've been at school. So this is very familiar to me at least. But I think it's so far it's a good primer. I feel like, and there's other bits and pieces there. But I just saw the Russian Empire. I saw a bit about the British Indian Army as well. That's interesting. Italy as well. Oh, cool. So it breaks it down into sort of themes as well. The themes, officer attitudes and soldier attitudes. Oh. And then, America. America coming in as well. Makes sense. Central powers as well. So you split them up into allies and powers. So a lot of this must be context. And Austria-Hungary as well. Whoa, look at that image. Holy shit. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Good as a postcard. Wish you weren't here. The Ottoman Empire as well. This is quite good. Probably a nice little couple of page primers on each of them. Each of the allies and each of the central powers. Bulgaria as well. There we go. Running the game. Let's move on to that. I think we've got enough sort of the background of that. I'm quite glad I've read through that sort of thing. Here's where we are. Here's what happened on that day. And then here's the individual stuff now. I'm sure there's more detail in it as well. But we'll just move on from that. Because again, there's only so much we can read about that. I think that would be helpful. So now we've got to talk about the X card. Great. Maybe we shouldn't be 57 pages in to talk about the X card, but that's fine. I did notice, if I zoom quickly to the back, there is an X card that you can, I presume, print out. There you go. Ooh, let me zoom out a little bit. Huge, though. Absolutely massive. Which is probably good to have. I assume you would have that, put that in the front of the table. But yeah, huge, that X card. Right, 50. What are we on? 57? That's what we were on. Excuse me. So we recommend using a safety device such as the X card. A safety device is ideal for never going home because the subject matter is deliberately dark and creepy, dealing with the supernatural horror, human cruelty, and the consequences of war. The X card is simply a large letter X on a card or a sheet of paper placed where everyone can see it. If you have a big table, use more than one. One is included at the back of the book to copy. Yep, so it gives a quick example of what it is. Oh, it talks about the pause. Oh, it is not a pause button to let someone catch their breath. It is a channel change button to do something else. Oh, and there's a link to it. Oh, that's good. Sometimes you don't get links or even credits to the creator of the X card, so that's really cool that we've got it there. As the narrator, you have a lot to do to make a session of Never Going Home a success. You must know the rules, control all the antagonists and non-player characters, describe everything, you must also create and maintain a proper atmosphere for the game. Keeping the following priorities in mind will help you create the wasted landscapes, the haunting moments, and the feeling of near hopeless odds that never going home calls for. Interesting. So again, it feels like more like those principles that we see in Powered by the Apocalypse games. So, signal over noise. Oh, okay. As one of the players at the table, the narrator can join it in social aspects of getting together for a session. Have a laugh with your friends at the right time. There will be distractions from the game. Phone calls can happen. Children may come in to say goodnight. Gosh, could you imagine? Good night, Daddy. What did you do in the Great War? There'll be snacks and bathroom breaks. This is all part of people getting together. Remember that through all of it, you are the one who cuts through the noise to keep the focus on the game. The narrator gives the group direction, and other players take their cues. Keep your focus on the events of the game, and the others will follow your lead. Take the time you need before the session or during downtime to think about what's happening next with your NPCs and the antagonists in the mission. What is going to happen next? Make plans, change them as needed, and keep the game moving. Signal over noise. I quite like that as a phrase for it. Story over combat. Sometimes a story can be about a running battle or a series of increasingly tough antagonists, but usually there is more to the story than just combat. If the monsters are too easy to beat, the players can become bored, and if they are too hard to beat, they could become frustrated. Instead, put the reason for fighting at the centre of the story. Why is the unit fighting? Survival, revenge, power, confusion, and many others are remarkable story motivators for the fight. Which NPC betrayed them to the enemy? How did their own mistakes add to the trouble that they have to deal with? Set up the reasons why first, then use combat as a climax to the story or as a significant barrier before the characters even reach the climax of the tale. When it's time to have a fight, be ruthless. The players fight all the harder knowing what is at stake. Involvement over happiness. I quite like this signal over noise, story over combat, involvement over happiness. Okay. The game and setting are dark and foreboding. The goal is not to make the players happy with the character situations and pleased with their range of options. Instead, make sure the players are invested in the gameplay and involved in the events of the current mission. Bring the players deeper into the experience by talking directly to their characters. Call them by their names. Tell them what they are seeing. Ask them what they are feeling. Listen when they talk about their hopes and dreams so you know how to tailor the events and threats to the soldiers trapped in your adventure instead of offering generic haunts. Sometimes it helps to let the players decide what is horrible about a situation. Force them to choose what threats they will have to face. They know more about their own character's fears than you ever will. Creativity over notes. Though the game is built around working through missions, that does not mean you have to check every box on your list of events. Sometimes you can tell the players no, but sometimes you should let them go off and get themselves into unexpected trouble. Improvising. Players will often think of solutions to problems which you didn't anticipate or prepare themselves for threats you didn't plan to use. Reward their creativity when they think of worthy additions to the story. Often following the characters produces results just as good or even better than your notes. When that happens, go with it. It is important to keep the story moving. It can change things as you go. Bring the adventurers back to the story you planned. Or you can add additional challenges if they're getting off easily. Be flexible, but don't let the players push you into letting them complete a mission automatically. Never forget that you have the final say on everything in the world. And then finally, horror over hope. The world has been broken open by horrors, and there's no sign of things getting better anytime soon. Amidst this horror, let the characters have some respite in the pockets of normalcy. Offer them hints and rumours of better times ahead and of greener pastures somewhere else. If they quit, you will not be able to keep showing them new horrors. Remind the characters they are trapped in a haunted war zone, stumbling from one disaster to the next, keeping them from leaping from the frying pan into the fire over and over again. Every victory must come with a terrible price. Every new dawn must be earned by the terrors of the darkest hours of the night. The cursed outnumber the survivors, and death is a certainty. Never Going Home is played by completing missions, which are small adventures including a setup, a number of events for the characters to interact with, and a reward for those characters who survive. A single mission may last for an hour of playtime but can cover any amount of time in the game. Some missions are entirely self-contained and others are part of a series telling a larger connected story. Play through as many missions as needed for the length of your gaming session. Each mission has a mission folio divided into 4 main parts. The first is the mission briefing that gives the narrator all the background information they need to run the mission. It also contains a briefer mission objective given to the players. It doesn't give the players much information as the narrator has. Next is the journey, using the cards and roleplay to set the emotional tone for the mission. The journey is explained in more detail shortly. Yes, this will be important for us. The main section of a mission portfolio is the incidents. Each incident details what the characters encounter as well as what the surviving characters get to do next. Incidents can range from making simple skill rolls to an encounter with antagonists to moments of roleplay. And lastly, the mission folio gives a decoration in terms of new cards added to the player's hands. After each mission is complete, the characters heal all their attributes to their full maximum rank. The players then may spend cards that they collected during the mission to buy advancements for their characters. This is usually the only time characters can advance. After advancement, the narrator shuffles all the discards back into the deck so it'll be ready for the next mission. Corruption is not cleared at the end of missions. It takes a special event during a mission to heal corruption. Yeah, see. What are we doing on time? Oof. We're doing okay. We're doing alright. I think we can keep going. I think we'll get it done in the next half an hour. I think so. So, the journey. The journey is an event that happens at the first part of each mission. It focuses on the role playing or the character moments and helps set the tone for the events to follow. Each journey has a list requirement, i.e. 3 hearts, 1 card of each suit, and some more difficult missions also include things to avoid, i.e. no 6s, no more than 1 spade. The journey requirement is told to the players before they contribute cards. Oh, that's really cool. I like that. Each player must contribute 1 card from their hand to the journey, but they may contribute more if they wish. If a player has no cards, they add 1 from the deck without looking at it. By group consensus, players may elect to take more time on the journey to gather what they need and add an additional cards from the deck, but never more cards than the total number of players. Sometimes the narrator may also add cards to the journey or corrupt characters. Players' hands are always secret, so open discussion of who's contributing what card is discouraged. The general discussion of how confident the players are general discussion of how confident the players are they can succeed. How confident the players are they can succeed at the journey can be allowed. Oh, that's a really weird sentence there. Sorry. Especially if it is played in character. Once all the cards have been contributed to the journey, the narrator shuffles them and deals them down face down to the players. If there are more cards than there are players, the narrator may deal themselves a journey card as well. These cards should not be added to the player's hand. Anyone may start. At one at a time, players reveal the journey card and either answer a question posed by the journey in the voice of the character or narrate a scene of what their character does during the journey. Ooh, I quite like that. And I'm guessing that's going to relate to those categories that each suit had from much earlier. When the narrator reveals a card, they can tell which character the thoughts they are describing occur to, or who is involved in the scene they narrate. All the answers and narration should be inspired by the themes of the revealed card's suit, with higher numbers being more intense, if appropriate. The scene can involve roleplay with another character at the table. Each answer or scene should last for 1 minute. Oh, it's like a little montage thing. Oh, I really like that. Oh, that's very cool. Depending on the mission, successfully meeting the requirement grants a bonus to the unit for that mission, or failure will impose a penalty. Reveal this benefit or penalty after the journey cards have all been revealed. Oh, I really like this. I think this is really cool. All cards contributed to the journey are then put into the discard pile. If a joker was played, shuffle the deck as normal. The first draw corruption if it was the blackjack. Yeah. Okay. Some missions do not list a target number for skill rolls, though many do. Even with a tightly scripted mission, every possibility cannot be covered in the notes. If the unit goes into a cellar you didn't plan to be there, you aren't going to know ahead of time what the target number is to search debris should be. Sometimes the numbers on the page end up not working for your group. They might be sneaking past every guard you set without breaking a sweat, or they might be able they might not be able to land a blow on the first monster you put in their path. Many times you will just have to adjust or invent target numbers on the fly. Roughly, half the skill rolls should fail. Difficulty floats to the level of the party. Lower or raise the target number as you see fit. You can also put more antagonists into the fight or have allies show up to help your weary player characters. Another option is to make any skill roll a challenge. A challenge, some challenges are already called for in the mission, but the narrator may add more challenges or convert a normal skill roll to a challenge if it seems like the right decision for advancing the story. Work the collaboration of the characters into the story in some fitting way. For example, after coming up against a riddle-sealed door that no one can unlock, discussions of the problem may help soldiers remember their school books, and they can attempt a knowledge challenge together. Converting a single role into a group challenge can also be important when facing particularly strong antagonists. Oh, try not to sneeze. If the unit attacks as a group, forfeiting their individual checks for the combat round, they may score enough successes to hit the monster, giving them serious trouble. If they do this, only one weapon will actually damage the monster, as the rest of the units will be effectively creating suppressing fire, which allows one soldier to hit. Mobs of antagonists. In the statistics for each antagonist is a listing of mob or solo type antagonists. Several antagonists with a mob trait can pool their attacks and abilities when appropriate to attack a PC or complete a task. The same with player characters completing a task. For example, a player character with a brawn of 6 is impossible for a common soldier to hit with a ranged attack, and even a PC with brawns 4 is difficult for such an antagonist. To make groups of enemy or monsters is more threatening, and they can act as one. If 4 common soldiers attack a PC with 4 brawn, they would only need to roll 1 success each, so that when they pool the successes together as a mob, they will have enough to hit the PC. Only one antagonist weapon will actually deal damage, as the rest of the antagonists are effectively creating suppressive fire. Even a tough character can be threatened by a large group of enemies. The narrator may group their mob antagonists however they see fit at the beginning of combat, and may adjust them later as the events unfold. They act on single initiatives, and each individual in a mob may only act once in a round. Antagonists with whispers. Dear oh dear. Some antagonists can cast whispers. It's generally the same as it is for player characters. If the whisper path requires the caster to take damage or make skill rolls, they must take that damage or make skill rolls. If the path requires a discarded card, the narrator does not have to pay the cost, as they do not have a hand of cards. Antagonists using whispers are generally already fully corrupted and no longer limited by the memories of their humanity. Oof, brutal. Ooh, dear oh dear. Another journal entry. Okay. With the veil torn and other worldly threats walking the earth, mere humans cannot help but fall victim to the influences of these powerful others. That influence is measured in corruption. Specific mission incidents excuse me. Antagonist abilities and whisper effects may force a draw for corruption. Additionally, learning additional whispers causes corruption. A character draws each time they earn their 3rd, 4th, and 5th point of training in each whisper path. Okay. Ah, yes, for the chance of corruption. I see. Yeah. Each time a character must draw for corruption, they take the top card of the deck. If it is a joker, they reveal it and must draw again. First, shuffle the deck, discarding the revealed joker as normal. Once the player draws a non-joker card, the character has a 50% chance of corruption. If the card is red, they do not gain a point of corruption. If it is black, they do gain a point of corruption. The player makes a note of the character's corruption as they see fit, and the narrator must keep a record of all characters. So that's what it's talking about, keeping it secret from other people. I like that. I think that's really... I like keeping hidden secrets from other people and keeping it to yourself, and knowing that, oh gosh, I have 3 corruption or I have 4 corruption, but I know so and so might have 1 or 2, and they might also have 4. It's quite... Yeah, I quite like that as like little hidden bits of information. You can use other players' characters' corruption against them in several ways. Firstly, when they contribute cards to the journey, you may add 1 additional card. Oh, this is talking about the narrator. For each character with a corruption of 3 corruption, and 2 for each character with 4 corruption. Additional cards mean you give yourself cards during the resolution of the journey. You can do this by representing additional hardships the characters must face, or especially tough questions they must wrestle with. You can confront the players who are already corrupted with these disturbing images, or you can present the others attempting to influence those who have yet to be corrupted. There can be incidences which play out differently depending on how much corruption they have. There's also antagonists with attack priorities tied to corruption. Current level of corruption of any character is technically a secret, but sometimes it helps to sow discord in the group by allowing events to suggest who is already walking in the shadows of the other. Because corruption is a secret, there is no requirement for how players must play once they are carrying corruption. As a narrator, you can nudge them in certain ways in how you describe what they see, or in what you tell them enters their minds when the journey uses a question. Other than this, it's up to the individual players to decide how they play their characters with dealing with corruption. They might try to prove them that they're not under the influence of the others by being extra helpful to their peers. Perhaps they will feel they are already a failure and volunteered for the most dangerous assignments to atone for or punish themselves. Maybe they choose to embrace their descent into madness with increasing selfishness and debauchery which threatens the unit. Confusion should reign, because any of these responses could be thoroughly human responses to a situation that soldiers find themselves in. When they reach 5 corruption, they are on their last mission. At the end of the current mission, unless they happen to find a way to clear some of their corruption, they do not return to base with their unit. Instead, the characters give themselves up to the others and wanders off to... They may appear later as one of the disfigured, not a great term, I'll be honest, as some other narrator-controlled antagonists. But the player must create a new character. Those moments between realising that this is their last operation and the end of the actual mission should be a culmination of the road the character was on over the course of their corruption. Will they turn on the rest of their unit? Will they try to destroy themselves rather than heed the other's call? The choices are up to the player, but as the narrator, you can help them with what is best for their character and the overall story. Sometimes, some dramatic revelation is appropriate. Other times, simply disappearing from the embrace of human company is the most dramatic way for a character to exit the game. When a player character reaches 0 ranks in any attribute, they are dead. There is no way to bring them back with medical care nor magical healing. Their body may rise again as one of the unfallen, but the player will need to create another character from scratch to continue playing. They will use the normal character creation rules. The only thing you, as a narrator, must decide is whether the new character can step into or when the new character can step into the story. Most of the time, it's easiest to assume the unit is made up of several NPC soldiers, one of who steps forward to become a PC as soon as the start of the next combat round. Sometimes it makes more sense to wait to the end of combat, or even to the end of the mission. but don't keep players waiting too long. Oh, and then some resources. Oh, it's nice to have like a list of resources to be like, here's some examples of things to like inspire you, things to sort of like get. What's the word for it? It's suggested reading list, haven't we? So we've got some suggested reading lists there. Got some TV there. They Shall Not Grow Old by Peter Jackson. That's a great documentary, I will say. Oh wow, some cool websites. There's some websites here as well. Wikipedia has a good battle of pages for many battles such as the Somme, Verdun. Yeah. And then some antagonists. We won't go through. We might do one or two, but that's how we would read them. Give them a name, type that they are, initiative value that you have to beat. Skills. Wait, non. Oh yes, that's it. So it operates from non-supernatural effects to supernatural effects. I remember that now. Don't. Oh, you know what? I've now realised what those X's mean. That's how many. That's how skilled they are. In a thing. So they've got 3. So for example, if they were going to do like an attack, they're gonna with a knife or something. They only have 1 in melee. This person, this human, average human, 1 in melee, but they have 3 brawn. So currently, I only have 1 dice I was going to roll. But if say the target number's 3, I could then spend 2 of that brawn to get 3 dice, roll that, and then I could use that final bit of brawn to either manipulate the roll in the sense of I can re-roll all of them, or I can add a pip to one of them. Right, now it makes more sense now, because before I was like, why are they crossing off? Why is it crossing off the have I lost that that point in melee or something? No, it's specializations now. Totally understand. I'm a complete idiot. Well, not a complete idiot. It's a little bit hard to read. I think a little bit like I've got. It's interesting. I think I could tell that there's obviously bits of it have been written by different people. And then hadn't had a chance to go through a copy editor or an edit and just put it in a certain order. Like definitely I would have had the character creation at the top first, or even a more simplified character creation. And that little bit of the primer, I can maybe have that even shorter perhaps. Ooh. And supernatural horror is a cackling horror. Oh. Oh well, that is absolutely terrifying. Wow. So it's okay. So I'm just looking through the corpse feeder. Whoa, that is grim. I'm gonna also gonna enhance on it. I want to see. Oof. There won't be such a damn problem if they waited until you were actually, you know, dead. Whoa, grim. It's very cool, like. Oh, cultists. Yeah, that makes more sense. I was like, what is that creature? It's cultists bringing something. Let's talk about the disfigured. Not a great name. I'm already a bit like about that. These demons were once soldiers who lost their humanity in the trenches. They're infested with disease and vermin, rats, frog, and lice. Oh wow, frogs. Their skin and clothes are caked with blood, mud, and shit. Wow, that's the first time it's ever said that. Many are missing limbs and marked and scarred by horrible war wounds. They are a hotbed of disease, even though they are unaffected by the horrors they carry. Though they can and will use firearms, they love to hurt, maim, and torture with hooks, barbed wire, and mutilations. They're also skilled at deception and frequently found integrated themselves in the ranks of regular soldiers. I think I would call them, because they sound very zombie-like to me. The Hidden, perhaps, or the Unseen. I don't know. I just don't like. I'm not a big fan of the disfigured as a phrase, so I would change that to Night Fiend. I'm going to assume that's a hand. I don't know. Don't think it is, actually, now that I think about it. Oh my god. What's that? A rot breeder. Oh, so you have different kinds of... So that feels a bit like Left 4 Dead, where they have different kinds of zombies. If it's one of the disfigured manages to survive long enough and demonstrates a particular capacity for spreading corruption, that powers nurture it into a rot breeder. Yeah, it's different kinds of zombies. A skin thief. That sounds delightful. Oh, that sounds delightful. Ooh. this is. You see, I'm already like, this could be quite fun to play. Oh wow, what a cracking image! Put that on your Warhammer tabletop things, huh? What are these? A slug mule. They stink. They're as dumb as a box of rocks, and they're ugly as homemade sin. But at least they're not trying to eat us. Wow. Oh, trench gremlins. Oh, terrifying. French stalkers. Like some horrific cross between a frog and an anteater, this beast treats the trenches like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Its powerful legs propel itself across no man's land swiftly, making it a difficult target to hit when on the move. Once it finds a trench, ignoring the screams or cries of horror from within, it begins to simply slurp up soldiers with a long, frog-like tongue. Very soon, the cries and the screams are emanating from the creature's distended gut. Once it's had its fill, it steps back to digest its still living prey in relative peace. Ooh, please tell me there's... Oh, there's no picture! Oh, I think that's... There you go, there's the picture. I was like, where's the picture of it? Oh, that is great. Oh, wait, I think that's the picture. Unfallen. Oh, no, yeah, those are the more zombie-like ones, I guess. Yeah, that looks like a... what's it called? A trench stalker? Trench stalker. So cool. Oh, that's very cool. And a veil... Whoa! That's the one we were talking about in the example for. Veil priest. Humans who have a knack for learning magic can become powerful and feared figures in the cults they lead. They have a goal of greater power, but they're cleverer than common cultists. Most delude themselves into believing they can control the powers of the others if only they learn enough and make the right contracts. Willingly, or only half suspecting, Veil priests often serve as a doorway for the worst of the horrors which now swarm the earth. They wear the robes of their cult or dress in black and are usually distinguished by some piece of faded or half-ruined finery. They don't seem to be truly human anymore and are no longer swayed by human concerns. And then it goes into those missions, and that's kind of it. Fantastic. Well, we won't look at those missions, so I don't want to spoil anything. But there you go. That is a quick look through. If I go back to that character, let's look at the character sheet quickly. Actually, we can tell here what we've done. We've got the... Oh, 9... I understand what those national profiles we know. That's 9 national countries profiles. There's 6 magic paths, there's 6 whisper paths, 12 different sort of monsters or beasts you can use, and then there's free adventures at the end. I understand that. I understand. And then you've got your record there. Signed equipment, service record, personal history. So I'm guessing... You can only take up to 3 whisper paths? Like, I guess it makes sense. Because by the time you're going to be, like, I don't know, more corrupted and stuff, maybe, I don't know. I assume it's a maximum of 3 whisper paths for 3 areas of magic. That's right. That's good. And then, yeah, and then it goes in sort of 9... Yeah, 9 different specializations from 3 attributes. Okay, great. Good. Well, there you go. So that is a very quick, I mean, what, just over 2 hours look at Never Going Home. Well, let's recap, folks. So, the artwork is pretty evocative. There's some really good artwork. Obviously, it did get an Emmy for Best Artwork in 2020. Let's face facts. If I go onto a, let's do a 2-page review. The layout isn't great, and actually I would recommend there was, if you type in like an actual, someone going through the actual book, the hardcover book and the softcover book of Never Going Home, it is as printed. If I scroll out a little bit more, maybe you can see it. So there's lots of gaps in places, like gaps here. It's very difficult to read because the text, I feel like there's different sizes of text as well in between with all the different like artwork as well, and obviously there's letter stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I've not read through any of the letters, and I know that's obviously to give sort of an idea and like a feel of what kind of game we're going for and how you would report back the letters. There's one thing I was going to say in The Walking Dead. It talks about when you do a recap for each session, you, as a character, like speak aloud a letter to someone that's passed away or someone that's no longer with the party. So it could be someone who is a player character, or it could be somebody who is an NPC or something like that. So to recap. So I kind of like what they've done here. I mean, I know these are just an example of like a story going through to sort of like indicate like, oh, some weird eldritch cult things are happening in a World War I setting. But I would like to put that in, be like, okay, we're going to recap what happened in the previous mission. What would you send home to a loved one in a letter, bearing in mind that it probably never gets to them? Or bearing in mind it's going to be heavily censored in some way, or like maybe doing a field report in some way. Because that would be quite cool. And it would be very in keeping with what's being shown here in these purple writings with there's the Douglas Hayes one at the beginning, and then these ones by Alfred, which go between him and Alfred and Mary Warbuck, back and forth. I love the idea of the cards, using that as a resource. I think that could be really exciting as a thing to do in person. Obviously, I know virtual tabletops, you can also do that with cards as well. So it can be done. It can be done. I know. I think this came out before. I think just before the pandemic. So maybe if there was a VTT version of it, that maybe there's. I'd hope there's one in the works, or an easy way to be able to do the card thing about like giving corruption, showing it, not showing it to other people, etc. Because there's something I like that aspect of it, and showing the well-being and stuff, and then spending stuff, and like what do you lose from that, and also the journey thing about like montaging. What do you see? That's something I've been doing without the cards, like to get people involved in creating the world and the story. I really like that. But I wonder, there's no prompts about like what is in the journey. It just gives you those general themes. So it is up to the game master, I assume, to come up with those prompts. But I know you can get a set of cards on DriveThruRPG. I wonder if I can have a look to see where it is. I think games. Let's see. Never Going Home journey cards. So you can buy these. Oh, there's a bad review there, so that's not very good. Standard suits. Okay, so it is just a suit of cards, I'm guessing. I was going to say, I was hoping it would show us what they looked like a little bit, at least one or two. Oh, I thought they might have some, thematic deck to add to your game. Look elsewhere. Oh, well, bad review. Oh well, fair enough. Sorry, let's go back then. What else would I say? Yeah, I think it just suffers a little bit from... Yeah, that initial opening is really off-putting, I'll be honest. I really struggled with playing the game and combat and weapon. Like, that first bit, those first 20 pages, they're quite dense, which is a shame. And like, I almost skipped that Whispers part, but actually that was really interesting, like the describing of all the different Whisper paths and the sort of different magic you could do. I thought that was really interesting. Realistically, I think, get that character creation, like you can have that playing, you need that. The problem is obviously, well, not the problem, I think you'd have that World at War, the Vale, No Man's Land, pop them at the front. So that first, like 10 pages or so, put that at the front, character creation, playing the game, and then having the allied powers and the central powers at the back of the book, just to give that additional information should you want to know it. Because ultimately, maybe these soldiers don't know, your characters might not know who the governments are. It's more like an us versus them kind of thing. The running game stuff was good. I liked the advice it gave to the narrator. I'm also a big fan of saying things like narrator antagonists as a name for the stuff. That's really, I quite like that. I'm a big fan of like naming things that aren't like NPCs. It did change quite a lot from terminology as we went through, which is a bit irritating. There's no consistency there. Well, it's not irritating, it's just something that could be sorted. The layout for the antagonist stuff, like, it wasn't obvious to me about the pip stuff, so no wonder I wouldn't get the weaponry and the vehicle stuff. Yeah, weaponry and vehicles, it's tricky because obviously the weapons are quite generic in terms of like damage and stuff like that, so that's fine. But the vehicles and stuff, that should be back with the antagonist. Like anything additional equipment, etc., should be back down there at the bottom. And there was no need to have a bigger X at the back of the character sheet. Oh, what a waste of a page, I think. But like, and there's no. It says here, yeah, there's no safety tool like mention of it. It just sort of is at the end in the running game section. That needs to be right at the top. There isn't really. It gives about the buy-in and like talking about what it is, but there isn't. Like, I know obviously what it's about. It would have been good if they had like, hey, so we're gonna do some dark stuff. I think, yeah, it's not until like character creation we talk about it, perhaps, or I look through. And it's such a weird place to like the interior graphic design of it, the interior art. Sorry, I can see what they've done, but when they've not got it for all the pages, so that front page doesn't have it, obviously because it's the front page, but then it just looks so. I don't know. It would be printed on the actual pages. I just don't understand why we can't just have like just normal plain text things. Can we? Is it text readable? This particular document? It is. Thank God it's text readable. Because that would have been. Yeah. Although I don't know why it's got random boxes at the bottom there. That could just be me. I like the art style. I like how the line drawings of it. I think it's very good. And it shows different aspects. Not only is it just the horrible stuff, and we've got the colour drawings, the colour line drawings as well, which are good as well. Yeah. So I guess my final assessment is I'm intrigued. I think there's some really good aspects of it here. Like, I really think what they've done has really got me intrigued. It's very much like why I really enjoyed Cult Divinity Lost when I ran it. I like that idea of there's something beyond, and it's put onto something that we can ground in something we know. And I think it has gone. It has the potential to do it sensitively as well, and presumably with the other series of books that goes into, like, you know, what is it from the point of view of a Russian army, or from the point of view of the French army, or the different places. I assume that's what the other supplements are about, and obviously the magic and the other sort of Tome of Beasts one on the seas as well. Like that, I definitely see the appeal of those. I hope it's done sensitively. I hope it's done with a copy editor, just to make it a little bit clearer to people. I think the system overall is really good and really interesting. It takes a little bit to get your head around, and I think maybe playing in person would be beneficial to that. And yeah. Oh, I might actually, maybe at some other point, I might go through one of the adventures and have a look and see what they've put as an adventure. Because I feel like when the journey stuff, maybe the journeys, maybe that's what it is, the journey part of in the mission folio, whatever, that's what gives you the prompts when you give out the cards. That makes more sense rather than something generic. But it could have also maybe benefited from like a random prompt table, you know, like a quiet year, for example, or or the wretched. Whenever they have, here's the 4 suits, here's some numbers, here's some some randomly prompts that you can use if you don't like the particular prompts that are in the mission briefing. So yeah. So overall, I think, yeah, it's so interesting when there's a good idea or good ideas. Not all of them. I think there's definitely needs another go through. But when it's not laid out well, that was a bit tough going. I mean, I appreciate those folks who've stuck with me from here. Very hard going, some of the text, especially when it's quite small and quite condensed. I can only imagine how hard it would be to read in a physical book. Luckily, I'm able to like zoom in and stuff. It's just, again, just a little bit of layout, a little bit of just maybe some different organization of the chapters, different layout in terms of structure. I think it would make it a really interesting book. But there you go. That is, I forgot the name of it then. Never Going Home. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I'm going to turn back to Big Fiona's screen. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, this is more of an accountability stream than anything that I get to read a book. I'm hoping to do this at least every week. I've got some planned for next Sunday. I can't remember what it is though. I'm so bad. I'm like, yes, I will do this next Sunday, and then I completely forgot what next Sunday is. I have planned for Gutbat Banwan. That'll be an exciting one. I'm looking forward to that because I've heard many good things about that particular tabletop RPG. But I might be doing some more in the week. Before the stream, I was told that the tube strikes in London have been called off, and I was like, Oh, nuts, because I was hoping to do some more streaming this week, but it looks like I'll have to be in the office, which is fine. I'm supposed to be there. But thank you so much. If you're interested in knowing more about this book... Oh, no! Yes, I'm sorry, Hamilton. The Tube Strikes is back on. They literally got cancelled just before I went live, and I was like, oh... But that's fine, that's fine. Don't worry, I'll still be free for recording on Tuesday. What was I going to say? So I've put a link in the chat to where you can get. Has it not done it on YouTube? That it's gonna come up at some point. Where you can get this book, Never Going Home by Wet Ink Games. So you can grab it wherever you can on Drive-Thru RPG. I think it's worth a look, and maybe play it perhaps. I do have the other supplements, so I might have a quick look through and see what ideas they give from there. If you're interested in seeing what I do, I run What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast. I do that, where we do lots of different RPG systems. And you can probably find out more. You can find out more stuff. We're doing some interviews with some game designers later this month. I think. Actually, what day is it? Maybe the other one should have gone out today. Hang on. Did we go out today? It was it's where I can't remember what day things are going out on. Probably should go out. Yes, the next episode is out today. Sorry. Like, what day is this? I think Solemn Veil Part 2 is now out on the audio feed. So that's the second part of the Solemn Veil actual play I did for Actual Play UK way back in August of last year, which is one of my favourite folklore horror games. Had a really good setting, had a really good history, so we'll check that out. Hopefully it's on all it's on the YouTubes as well. Also, I have some interviews with game designers coming up. RPG therapists. I've got two different RPG therapists that I interviewed. One was Daniel Hand, and then the other was Game Therapy UK, and they use RPGs in different ways, therapeutic ways for individual clients, but also for groups of marginalised people and people who maybe won't have access to RPGs as a way of giving them some sort of social aspect. It was really interesting to talk to both of them individually about that. So those will be coming out at some point on where. If you're like Fiona, I don't care about any of these RPGs. There's only one RPG to rule them all, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. Oh, hello, JC Darcy, welcome back. There's also the DM's Book Club, which is a weekly book club podcast about Dungeons & Dragons, the lore of it, and how we would absolutely improve it and make it better. We've recently had an episode come out about the Book of Many Things, which I'm sure, Hamilton, if you're still in the chat, we would highly recommend. We know, disclaimer, wizards have done a bad thing. They do bad things. Everything's bad, but and obviously the physical copies aren't out yet. But that book is really good. And it was really upsetting because it's you can tell how much work, love, and passion has gone into making a book that you can use not only in your own D&D games, but any RPG. And you could use it. Don't even have to use a deck of many things. She says, looking at too many decks of too many things. So check that out. We've got a few other interesting guest ones coming up at that as well. And finally, also, if you're like, Fiona, you're completely wrong about all these things, where can I talk to you about it? I've been quietly here this whole time, finished mopping up the rubbish bad guys now. Classic Darcy, coming in, saving the day as always. Pew, 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 pew. If you're interested, please check out the Discord. What Am I Rolling Discord and DM's Book Club Discord. We just go have chats. I usually check in and be like, how's everyone's day doing? I'm back in the office. And we're just hanging out, just having fun chats, and always happy to hear recommendations for new RPGs, ones to discuss on here. I'm always looking at quick starts and ways to get, just something different so we can tell different interesting stories that aren't necessarily D&D and aren't supporting the big bad wizards. Even though I do a podcast all about it. The reason I say this is because it's quite funny, because this time last year, this is a little bit of what's the word? It's a little bit like, because this time last year, what am I running? The DM's Book Club got nominated for best, best discussion podcast for Morris Podcasts. of 2022, which is very delightful. We were very pleased to be nominated and stuff. And then we watched the nomination stream, and we got absolutely ripped into because of the OGL license. And we're like, oh, typical. A D&D podcast would get onto this list, and we were like, okay, that's not our fault. We are trying to be like, hey, you don't have to play D&D, but we like looking at the lore of it and going, this is great, how can we make it better? Or this is terrible, how can we make it better? You know, that sort of thing. Anyway, enough of that. I'm going to go get some dinner and rest this voice and maybe do a bit more of my voice actor course. But I hope you're all well. Have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll be back next Sunday for Gutbat Banwan, and maybe we'll do some more in the week as well. If I pop up, this is where I'll be. Anyway, much love, guys, and I will find the end of screen button. There it is. Okay, bye.